with each other. Everyone has their own set of opinions and beliefs, and historically, humans have fought each other over this difference. Now, while we may be divided by land or belief, there's one thing that unites all of us, something buried deep inside the human DNA that makes us all on the same page. And that's our extreme dislike for Amy Schumer. God bless. Amy Schumer is like the common evil that unites the world. It's like in that anime Code Geass where Lelouch becomes the ultimate evil that the entire world rallies against, and then by the end of it, it brings everyone closer together. That's Amy Schumer, but in reality. Whenever she's present at like an award show or something, the entire internet, nay, the entire human race gets together and says, we just don't like her. She reminds us that we're not so different from each other after all. So why am I talking about Amy Schumer today?
So about a year ago now, I released one of my best videos. It was about Lena Dunham and Amy Schumer, two famous white women millennials who were very popular during the 2010s and were both equally hated for their outspoken feminist views, for being untalented according to their haters, and for being unconventionally attractive women who weren't a size 2. And for just existing as popular, overexposed women in the industry. After that, I made another video addressing things that I forgot to bring up before, and one of the main topics that I focused on was the joke theft accusations against Amy Schumer. At the time, I sort of adopted the popular narrative that Amy was a joke thief, and that those compilation videos proving how much of a thief she was felt somewhat convincing, but also not super convincing in many of the examples shown. I'm happy I at least recognized at the time that those videos did always seem a little bullshit. But now, about a year later, I recognize that actually they're more than a little bullshit, more like a lot of bullshit. I realized that I didn't fully agree with most of what I said in that section, especially after reading this article in Slate that I did reference about how joke theft accusations are almost always a very fraught area. I realized that maybe I was speaking too confidently on a very complex issue that isn't as easy as just putting up side-by-side clips of someone making one joke one year and another comedian making a similar joke a year later. I realized that logic is actually incredibly flawed and naive. So I took the video down. I just didn't like it, and frankly, as someone who is very committed to standing up for women, even those I hate, I don't like hating a woman for a certain reason simply because that reason is popular. Amy Schumer is bad in so many ways. She's racist, she's a Zionist, and she's an annoying white feminist. But she's not a joke thief. I think sometimes when it comes to people who are widely hated on the internet, especially women, people sort of turn into the teens and mean girls. I heard she's stolen every single joke she's ever made on stage. I heard she likes to lick the inside of her own asshole. Like, people just start making shit up or perpetuating some narrative based on very flawed evidence, and everyone just kind of eats it up because, well, we all hate her anyway. Hating her is popular. It doesn't matter how based in fact it actually is. Why does it matter? She's a joke thief. And we all know being a joke thief is the worst possible thing in the world to be, right? I mean, even worse than a murderer, even a predator, according to a lot of stand-up comedians and comedy fans. Throughout the years that I've been on YouTube, I've noticed most videos on Amy Schumer are a mixture of interviews with Amy and videos of people dunking on her for not being funny and for being a joke thief. I noticed even people who I followed, people who I thought and some I still think are very smart, people who are not being misogynistic in their critiques of Amy, perpetuating the narrative that Amy was a joke thief. And even though people are entitled to their own opinion, part of me did feel like people were just going along with the universally accepted opinion that has been held up as Bible fact. Going against the popular opinion online can sometimes mean you'll be inundated with comments from people disappointed in your take or angry because you said something they don't agree with. On some level, I can understand to some degree not wanting to deal with that because people online are very fucking annoying, and many cannot handle someone having a different opinion than them. But that doesn't excuse the way people have not, in my opinion, done their due diligence to actually look more deeply into joke theft as a whole. How it is actually difficult to prove, and how a lot of people who believe these claims don't seem to understand or don't want to admit how easy it is to absorb ideas, jokes, and perspectives from other people. How people can have the same idea because we are not that unique, and how many of the joke theft accusations against Amy are extremely dubious and uncharitable. The fervor behind Amy Schumer haters, or any group of haters, teaming up against a famous woman is unlike anything you'll ever see when it comes to men accused of assault or abuse. Men hate Amy so much and often cite her jokes as a particular gripe they have with her. It's very funny to me when I know most of these men will be some of the first people to attack people who criticize lazy punch down comedy or rape jokes, or will defend their right to still like Louis C.K. or whatever other shitty male comedian. It's like that community meme. I can excuse lazy and offensive rape jokes, but I draw the line at making jokes about your pussy. Like, seriously, these dudes hate how much he jokes about her pussy, which is weird. Hardly any of these men ever seem to have an actual issue with the actual bad things that she has done throughout her career. Their issues tend to be petty, and their criticisms traffic in fatphobia and misogyny, and yet when they complain about her, they act like they're speaking for the people or something. There are so many videos about her with titles like, "Nobody likes Amy Schumer. Amy Schumer is the absolute worst. How Amy Schumer became the most hated human ever." What the fuck? I get that these titles are being hyperbolic, but I don't think the men who make these videos are exaggerating with their hatred. They're being hyperbolic, yes, but they also really hate this woman for the crime of not being funny and not being fuckable to them. Even though, as you'll be so shocked to see, many of these men are pretty ugly themselves. People single out Amy Schumer and constantly make her the face of the worst comedians of all time. They will praise male comedians, some of whom have been accused of being predators, while positioning Amy as somehow worse than them. In 2017, Conan O'Brien was accused by a man named Robert Alex Caseberg of joke theft, and he went on to sue him and his writing staff for copyright infringement. In a 2017 article from The Hollywood Reporter, Conan said of this, quote,
"Accusing a comedian of stealing a joke is the worst thing you can accuse them of, in my opinion, short of murder," he said during a deposition last September and released in court papers on Friday. "I think it's absolutely terrible."
What the hell did you just say?
I understand he might be joking here, but this idea that the worst thing you can accuse a comedian of is joke theft is crazy. That is a crazy thing to say. It actually doesn't even matter if he's joking. People do joke about things they believe are true, and a lot of male comedians and male fans of stand-up comedians absolutely believe this with all their heart. Okay, so I'm gonna say something that a lot of people seem to be afraid to admit, but comedians and stand-up comedy fans are very weird people. Obviously not all, but I'm not going to be saying not all comedy fans are comedians every 10 seconds. There's this thing that happens where stand-up comedians and fans of those comedians both want comedy to be taken seriously as an art form and also not taken seriously as an art form. Like, there are many stand-up comedians who prioritize punching down and making shocking, offensive jokes like Dave Chappelle or Bill Burr or Andrew Dice Clay or the late Patrice O'Neal. When women, sometimes feminists, criticize their rape jokes, or when people of color criticize their jokes about race, or queer people complain about their jokes on the queer community, these groups of people are often shut down, shamed, and mocked for being so serious about comedy, or maybe having nuanced opinions about a famous and beloved comedian. Because comedy fans treat their favorite comedians like they're gods because they can get on stage and tell a clever joke. I remember years back when Dave Chappelle made his comeback on Netflix and made a bunch of transphobic jokes that the internet couldn't stop talking about for weeks on end. And YouTuber Kat Black did a video reacting to his special. In that video, Kat said that she actually really enjoys live stand-up and has a fondness for offensive humor. Yet, because she was also critical of some of the jokes Dave was making, because, it's a video, is it? There were some Dave Chappelle fans in the comment section bitching about how it's just comedy. Do people not know what funny is anymore? Which is so stupid. Like, what were you expecting the video to be about? She's a video essayist who analyzes things. Like, she's not just gonna laugh and talk about all the jokes she thought were funny for the whole video. If that's what you're looking for, then go to another video. There's plenty. This happened to me when I made my video about Norbit months back. Even when you state plainly that while this movie or show or stand-up special makes very regressive, offensive jokes, you still found some of the jokes to be funny, people still get mad at you for having the gall to critique comedy. Even though many of those same people, usually men, will criticize comedians they don't find funny, which isn't a bad thing, duh. But if you're critiquing someone's comedy special and you're making videos talking about how horrible it was, you are in fact taking comedy seriously. But people think, well, Dave Chappelle actually makes me laugh, and so because something makes me laugh, that means no one can criticize the thing that made me laugh. And if you dare even try to do that, I am going to shame and mock you for having an opinion. The whole "it's just a joke" thing is a thought-terminating cliche. It's essentially the comedic version of "it's not that deep." It's a way of shutting down a piece of discourse so that no one will take it seriously because you either aren't smart enough to engage in the discourse, or because you don't want to feel bad for liking something that may have been problematic. If you've seen Ole's video about media analysis, she defines this as virtue mirroring, which is when people think that the media they enjoy has to reflect their personal politics, morals, and values.
Yet, whenever I make a video analyzing a character from How I Met Your Mother and make note of any of the character's negative traits or make a negative moral judgment about a character, two things happen. When I call Ted Mosby a romantic terrorist, Robin Scherbatsky a pick-me, or Barney Stinson a sexual predator, the responses I get are usually two sides of the same missing the point ass coin. One camp assumes I hate the show because they assume that to love something is to leave it at that. Any further analysis is picking it apart or doing too much. They scream that it's just a show and not that deep because they don't know that we are supposed to analyze the media we consume. The other camp takes the negative judgments I've made about a character to mean that they're not allowed to like that character and that the show did something wrong by creating that character or writing them to do whatever makes them bad or problematic because they think the media they consume, the characters they like, are supposed to be a reflection of their own morals and values. Virtue mirroring. That first camp comprises of people who love the show that tell me they feel upset, conflicted, or called out in some way by me pointing out something negative about a character's personality, actions, or morals. That camp usually feels like I'm ruining it for them, destroying their childhood, or breaking their heart in some way. The other camp are people who've never even seen the show, but upon hearing the moral judgments I've made about these fictional characters, they start bragging about their imagined real-life moral superiority because they think never having watched the show and never having liked this problematic show or characters means they are better than the people in the other camp who feel some kind of shame about liking the show or the characters now that it's been brought to their attention that something about them is bad or problematic or not aligned with their real life values in some way.
This is a huge part of why the internet is so dumb right now. For some reason, whenever people are trying to have a nuanced conversation about something, people immediately center themselves in ways that aren't fair or constructive. If you've heard of the "oh, so you hate waffles" phenomenon, you are very familiar with what I'm talking about.
Twitter is the only place where well-articulated sentences still get misinterpreted. You can say, "I like pancakes," and somebody will say, "So you hate waffles?" No, bitch, that's a whole new sentence. What the fuck is you talking about?
Never has a tweet perfectly summed up the entire fucking internet so well. This is what happens when you critique pieces of media online. I'll criticize Nord for being racist, colorist, fatphobic, and sexist, and then I get comments like, "Oh, so you're saying I'm a bad person for liking Norbit? Should we all just stop watching movies with offensive humor then?" Even though that's not something I said at all. Sometimes they'll say it's just a movie as if I'm unaware that the thing I'm talking about is a movie. Same with jokes. Just because someone doesn't laugh at your joke or is offended by your joke doesn't mean that they don't know you were joking. Sometimes that's what it means. Jokes can go over people's heads, but sometimes your joke just wasn't funny to that person, and some comedians or just regular people who like to joke around lose their shit over this. Comedians can be so egotistical that they act like Bill Maher where they say a joke and expect a laugh, so they pause and smile about their own joke and then enjoy the inevitable applause. When these comedians do stand-up specials where they punch down on a particular group of people in a way where it's obvious to that people that this person has a limited understanding of the community they're dunking on, which means their jokes aren't as creative as they could be, these comedians, usually white and male, feel that they get to decide what's on the table and what isn't, and what those people are allowed to be offended by. This is Seth MacFarlane, who thinks his jokes are so clever and edgy that people will absolutely know when it's satire or just being offensive. I think there is an entire generation of white people and cishet people who really wanted to be racist and misogynistic so bad, but felt at the time that it wasn't cool to be openly racist anymore, and so they used comedy to be racist so that if anyone criticized them, they can hide behind the "it's just a joke" argument. We talked about this in my Lena Dunham video as well, something that has been referred to as hipster racism. My thing has always been that if you can dish it, you should be able to take it. You don't get to just go on a stage with a crowd full of thousands of people and make a bunch of bigoted and ignorant jokes, mostly for the sake of being shocking, and also dictate what people are allowed to feel and say about it. People are allowed to criticize your jokes. People are allowed to take it seriously because it is serious. People act like comedy is a special genre of media that is different from movie or television. It's an untouchable genre that I will defend with my life. It is true that comedy is the quickest to age poorly, and that it is sometimes important to remember the context in which certain jokes are told, but also people have been doing punch-down comedy for forever, but it's constantly talked about like it's always in grave danger of becoming illegal or something. It's free speech, and I should be able to say whatever I want, and you are not allowed to criticize me because free speech only extends to bigoted assholes who want to be openly bigoted, apparently. People who critique me do not have free speech, I guess. They're not allowed to speak their mind, but I am. Like, this shit drives me nuts. Me critiquing a comedy is also me exercising my right to free speech. I'm allowed to express my opinions about your opinions. If people instead would actually make counter arguments for why they disagree with my takes, I would be a little less annoyed. Because at least you're adding something to the conversation and not just trying to shut it down so no one can talk about it because it personally offends you. I'm saying all this to say that the way people treat comedy in our society is some of the most bizarre shit I've ever seen in my life. Comedy fans are very intense and serious about their favorite comedians and about joke theft. Again, in ways that they just aren't when it comes to issues that involve abuse or sexual assault. Many male fans of stand-up comedians, especially those who spend a lot of time on the interweb, are deeply critical of female comedians who are always joking about their pussies. Or they'll even criticize them for making tasteless jokes as if their favorite male comedians don't also do that. For example, when Amy Schumer hosted the Oscars in 2022, she opened up afterwards about how she was not allowed to make certain jokes on stage because they were too offensive. She wanted to make a joke about Alec Baldwin in the Russ shooting incident, which was...
Don't Look Up is the name of a movie. More like Don't Look Down the Barrel of Alec Baldwin's Shotgun.
I don't know why she would think it was a good idea to tell this joke after everyone told her not to tell it in the first place. They gave her a gift of shutting her up. Like, she didn't have to tell this joke. They were like, we're not allowing you to say it, we're putting the kibosh on it now, we're doing you a favor. And then she slaps them and all of us by telling this joke.
In one of these videos by a YouTuber named SunnyV2, you're probably familiar with his work, he references an offensive joke Amy made at an old Comedy Central roast.
Telling the truth. The whole dilemma was certainly a point of debate, yet one joke which Amy Schumer definitely hadn't stolen was a joke made in front of Steve-O back in 2014 relating to the death of his friend Ryan Dunn.
And Steve-O is here. Steve-O, great try. Steve-O! But I truly am, no joke, sorry for the loss of your friend Ryan Dunn. I know you must have been thinking it could have been me, and I know we were all thinking, why wasn't it? Thank you.
Steve-O is always laughing. When he's not, it's for real. Imagine being such a buzzkill that you kill Steve-O's vibe. Amy Schumer doesn't understand the concept of dark humor. She's got the dark, now she just needs to find the humor.
This is the type of shit that also grinds my gears. I don't think these jokes are funny. I think they're lazy jokes banking on the fact that it's a joke so shocking that it will grab people's attention. Like, the setup for that Don't Look Up joke is one of the worst joke setups I've ever heard. I've said in the past that Amy's stand-up was always very lazy, and it's something she even admitted to in 2015, saying she told offensive jokes because it's an easy way to get laughs. Something that isn't unique to Amy, of course, but because her jokes often suck, these men criticize her comedy even though they would eviscerate any woman who complained about a male comedian's tasteless rape jokes. Like, it's fine to make rape jokes at the expense of rape victims constantly, but if you make an admittedly tasteless joke about someone's death, that's where I draw the line. Even though I will also get irrationally angry at anyone who criticizes a similar joke that made me laugh personally. Like, if these men were not a fan of the comedian Amy made that joke about, I doubt they'd be that pressed about it. Amy just isn't funny to these men, which is fine. They think her stand-up is lazy and clumsy, which isn't untrue. But they pull out shit like this as if they actually care about any male comedian making tasteless jokes. Family Guy is full of tactless, offensive jokes. In my Norbit video, I referenced an incredibly disgusting rape joke from one of the earlier seasons that actually made me physically uncomfortable the first time I watched it since I was a kid when it came out. But many Family Guy fans, typically the cis-het white dude ones, will tear you apart if you call any of that out. So on the one hand, comedy isn't serious because it's just jokes, and if it makes a lot of people laugh, if the person telling the joke is popular and widely beloved, shut the fuck up, you annoying little snowflake. But on the other hand, comedy is so serious that joke thievery is one step below committing murder. And a woman constantly joking about her pussy is a crime against humanity. Like I said at the top of this section, many stand-up comedians and stand-up stans are very strange people. And that bizarre logic and behavior plays into the pervasive narrative about Amy Schumer's joke theft accusations.
It dawned on me that I don't see it in colors. I don't. In high school, I went out with this Chinese girl for a while once. I didn't even know she was Chinese. I thought, I don't know, maybe really tired, you know? No, seriously, I felt bad. I kept bringing her home early every night. I said, you get a little sleep, we'll do this again another time. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere.
You know what else is tired? Racist jokes about Asian people. So if you've been on YouTube for a while, you've probably come across these videos by the Tangerine Show, previously known by a different name, where he compiled a bunch of side-by-side clips of various different stand-up comedians making jokes that Amy allegedly stole. Something I didn't think about at the time when I first watched these videos is how many of these jokes are not exactly creative and aren't word-for-word plagiarism. The typical racist joke about Asian people looking tired, that's not a creative joke that Kevin Nealon invented. I heard that joke so much growing up.
No, I couldn't be less racist. I mean it. I was at a party 2 weeks ago in LA, and who walks in but Michelle Kwan? And out of nowhere, she tells me that Oliver Stone, you know, the director, she's like, he has this huge Asian fetish, and I find it totally offensive. And I'm like, why, Kwan? That sounds awesome, you know? And she's like, well, I'm offended because I'm Asian. And I was just like, well, I'm sorry, but I didn't even notice that. I thought you were just like really tired.
Plus, Amy's version of it is not the exact same as Kevin's. It's a different setup that makes the same punchline, but I find it hard to believe that other white comedians weren't also making the same type of joke. Stand-up comedy fans who defend punch-down humor sometimes seem to forget that bigoted comedy often relies on picking from the lowest hanging fruit, like fat jokes. Most, if not all, fat jokes are not creative. Regardless of whether you think they're funny, they're not creative, and you cannot change my mind. Also discussed this in my Norbit video. You see this with people on the left who make painfully uncreative fat jokes about Trump. Jokes where a fat person is sitting on a bench and is so heavy that it's tipping over, or skinny small man can't carry fat lady, or cheeseburger jokes. Jokes about how fat people eat a lot. Jokes about how fat people eat anything, even people.
You gonna eat that dead fat guy?
Jokes about how fat people aren't physically active. Jokes about fat people getting winded after trying to be physically active. Jokes about fat people being heavy and causing an earthquake, or, oh no, they caused the plane to go down. Jokes about how fat people are so fat that they have an orbit. Like, they stopped being creative a long time ago. They're not creative, which for me means they're not that funny. But people who make lazy, low-hanging fruit jokes treat those jokes as somehow more valuable than a joke that is actually creative and doesn't come to the most predictable conclusion. If their favorite comedian makes these kinds of jokes, they treat them as though those comedians own the idea of those jokes because they're just so creative when they aren't. Like, one of the other examples is one where he plays audio from what I assume is a stand-up performance. I'm not sure, but he plays a clip of a man named Kyle Cease, ever heard of him, making a joke about Maury Povich doing a fraternity test for Virgin Mary.
I performed in a lot of private schools, I was telling you, a lot of religious schools. I wonder what goes on with religion. I never knew what to believe with that. I don't ever know what the Virgin Mary story, you know what I mean? Did God and Virgin Mary make Jesus? And I think the reason we don't know on that is because we didn't have Maury Povich back then doing the paternity test. And that would have been a fantastic episode, wouldn't it? Just Maury Povich and Virgin Mary sitting there.
I think that would be the best ever Maury Povich baby daddy show. Don't you? Can you imagine how amazing that would be? I think he can do it. He's got the power. Like, half the crowd would be priests, half rabbis, and the panel is Jesus, Mary, and Joseph.
And in the Amy clip, she makes a similar joke about Jesus, Mary, and Joseph going on the Maury show. And also says the crowd will be half priests and half rabbis. For one, the Kyle Cease joke happened in 2006, and the Amy one is dated in 2011 in the video, and it's possible Amy heard that and forgot she heard it and then went on to make a similar joke. It's also possible she never saw or heard him say any of this. Second, that's also not that creative of a joke. People have been making Maury Povich fraternity test jokes forever. Damon Salvatore made one in The Vampire Diaries. You are not the father. Like, that is ingrained in our culture, even if you didn't watch Maury growing up like my family did. After this, he shows a clip of a sketch from something called College Humor, which I guess was some website where some dudes uploaded comedy sketches. The sketch in particular is a reference to the infamous 2 Girls, 1 Cup video. The joke is that they're explaining the premise of the sketch to 2 women who were hired to act out the scene. Like, essentially doing those erotic narrations of porn videos that you can sometimes find on porn sites. But the joke is that it's gross if you know what happens in that video. If you don't know, do not watch it. Just read the Wikipedia page, then erase your history and move on. He compares this clip to a sketch in Amy's sketch comedy show Inside Amy Schumer, where they make basically the same joke. I don't totally disagree with what I said in the deleted video, where I pointed out how some of the sketches did feel a little too on the nose, but what's important to keep in mind is that Inside Amy Schumer had a writer's room. She was not the only person who wrote for that show, and it's possible that other writers subconsciously made the same joke or did just straight up steal it. But also, that video had gone viral. It was one of those things where you had to be there because it had become like a famous dare video. A video where you dare someone to watch it because it's so shocking and gross. Family Guy made a joke about it where they just played the actual music from the Two Girls, One Cup video, and you just see Stewie's face slowly morph into absolute horror as the video plays. Everyone was making jokes about this video because it was on everyone's mind, and I don't think that joke is so clever that no one else could have come up with it. I talked about this in that now deleted video, but one of the examples listed in the Slate article about the legality of joke theft claims was one where in the early 2000s during the Bush era, multiple comedians made the same joke about Bush saying he wanted to put up a border wall to keep the Mexicans out. It was literally the same jokes people made when Trump proposed the same thing during Trump won. Comedian Ari Shaffir accused well-known joke thief Carlos Mencia of stealing this "who's gonna build the wall" joke from him as if he came up with it first. And because Carlos is actually a joke thief, people do what they do to Amy, which is compare one joke to another without any kind of nuance in their brain when they do that, because we already hate them.
Here's this new thing, I don't know if you guys heard this. He wants to build a new wall all down the California-Mexico border. Like a 12-foot high brick wall, it's like 3 feet deep. So no Mexicans get in. But I'm like, dude, Arnold, who do you think is going to build that wall?
I propose that we kick all the illegal aliens out of this country. Then we build a super fence so they can't get back in. And I win. Who's going to build it?
Now they want to build a wall to keep the Mexicans out the United States of America. I'm like, who gonna build the motherfucker?
The Republican answer to illegal immigration is they want to build a wall 700 miles long and 20 feet wide. Okay, but who are you going to get to build a wall?
Another example is one where Ellen made a popcorn joke on one of her shows from 2003. The joke is about how people just shove handfuls of popcorn into their mouth when they eat it. Then next to that is a joke Amy Schumer made on Ellen 12 years later, mind you. But she made a similar-ish joke, but with a different setup and punchline.
Something about the darkness, we just lose all of our inhibitions in the darkness. Is the popcorn really that delicious we must shovel handfuls of it into our mouth?
Popcorn, the way I think we all eat popcorn, which is, you know, at first don't you always kind of start out kind of like lying to yourself, like, like one piece at a time, you know, and then like you get a little more real, right? And then eventually you just like, you get real and it's just, like I've split my lip trying to get one more kernel.
The main joke with Ellen is the physical comedy, her ostentatiously acting out, shoving popcorn in her mouth and making loud noises. That's not totally what Amy does. It's the same joke, but it's also not, and it's also not original. Most of us have eaten popcorn and have done these things. Do you see what I mean by how dubious these clips are? They also show clips from inside Amy Schumer alongside something called Secret Policeman's Ball. I'm not sure if that's even the name of whatever this is, but both sketches are like these infomercials advertising guns, and the joke is really just them satirizing something that is actually true. The joke is that minors can purchase guns at gun shows, even though it is illegal for them to do that. Gun shows are a nice little loophole. Both sketches have a similar setup and style, but it's not a word-for-word copy, as most of these aren't. This is something that was a big talking point around the time of the Inside Amy Schumer sketch. It's just not at all implausible to me that comedians, people whose job it is to make jokes that work as a scathing commentary on our society, could come up with the same joke. As I was writing this, I kept thinking, I bet SNL has made a sketch about this. So I literally just went on YouTube and typed in SNL gun show, and I had to scroll down a bit, but I found an SNL sketch from 1980 that is the exact same idea, minus the commentary about gun shows.
Ho ho! Thinking of what to get your loved ones for Christmas? Why not give the gift that keeps you living? A gun from Gun City! For the first lady of the house, get one of these teeny weeny guns. Order now and we'll throw in this designer Gucci holster.
It's the same picture. Selling guns in an infomercial during the Christmas season. One of the most annoying ones that I complained about in my deleted video was one he showed of Jenny Slate doing stand-up in her movie Obvious Child. He compares it to a joke Amy made in her live at the Apollo show in 2015.
No woman who ends her day with like a clean pair of underpants that look like they've ever even come from a store, okay? They look like little bags that have fallen face down in like a tub of cream cheese and then like commando crawled their way out. And then like carabinered up like into a crotch. Like they're not
And number 2 was to this year just once take off a pair of underwear and have it not look like I blew my nose in it. Now, same. No, you're kind of like, no. So you find a pair of underwear on the floor and you're like, how do I know if I wore it? Please, you know.
Those are not the same joke, dude. This guy seems to think that if someone makes a particular joke first, someone making the same type of joke is definitely a thief, when no, Amy is also a woman with a vagina. This is a joke many women can relate to. I'm gonna give you a brief little lesson on vaginas, because girls are taught growing up that talking about this stuff in front of men is the worst thing that can ever happen to them, but this leads to a lot of cis men not understanding how vaginas work sometimes. Women who have their periods can experience spotting in their underwear before their period officially starts. Sometimes fluid is just coming out of our vaginas without us knowing until we go and use the bathroom, and you just see what looks like snot in the crotch area. This happened to me a lot while I was going through puberty. Sometimes the fabric of a woman's underwear can fuck with her pH balance and can cause a smell, which can cause stains sometimes. Plus, moisture and heat get trapped in between your legs. I don't have a thigh gap, so that happens a lot. Like, I didn't find these jokes hilarious, but I did relate to them as a woman with a vagina. Jenny Slate doesn't own the idea of making dirty underwear jokes. Like, what the fuck are we talking about here? This is so fucking stupid. But what really pissed me off was the joke theft accusations around this joke she made at the 2022 Oscars.
And I mean, Leonardo DiCaprio, what can I even say about him? He's done so much to fight climate change and leave behind a cleaner, greener planet for his girlfriends.
And this is the original joke, allegedly.
Leonardo DiCaprio is so passionate about climate change because he wants to leave a better world for his girlfriends.
Ran out the door. But oops, turned out this joke originated from a viral tweet only 4 months ago. I remember seeing and liking this tweet on my timeline in 2021. So then hearing this joke from Amy, and it's only reworded a little bit differently, it's pretty hard to not connect the dots. Is stealing jokes the worst crime imaginable? No. Does it speak to Amy's character as a comedian? Yeah.
This is really one of those things where you just want to tear your hair out of your head. I'm sorry to this person who tweeted this, but that is the most low-hanging fruit, basic bitch-ass, predictable-ass joke I've ever fucking heard of. Everyone makes jokes like that about Leo DiCaprio. He's known for being an actor, obviously, but also dating younger women and caring about climate change. It's a very easy joke to make. I've seen that joke so many times over the years, pre-pandemic, which is before this person tweeted this. When I heard her say that joke, I rolled my eyes because it was so lazy, not because it felt like she stole it. There are a lot of people on the internet who seem to think that their jokes are so original. Everyone online thinks they're a comedian, and many make jokes that they've absolutely heard from other people in other comment sections, but say it as though they came up with it. And you see this with Amy's haters. They make the same kinds of jokes about her. They make the same joke word for word even, and they get so many likes and comments when they do, as if those people who hit the like button hadn't heard that before. And the jokes aren't funny. Like, they're so unfunny. I'm not going to keep listing all the clips just so I can make the same point over and over. But it was important to me to pick out a few examples because remembering the climate change joke controversy is what really pushed me to make this video. Because that was when I realized these jokes are not all that in a bag of chips the way people make them out to be. I think one of the worst examples people use as proof that she's a joke thief is the infamous Patrice O'Neal joke. A joke that she did not steal from him, but Patrice fans are so sure she did, even though you can do like 5 minutes of Googling and learn that she didn't steal those jokes from him. The joke is just a rape joke about a man having sex with a woman from behind and switches out with his friend and then waves at her through the window. Patrice calls it the poltergeist and Amy calls it the Houdini, except she ends it by pointing out how this is just rape.
Ever poltergeister? Poltergeist is good. Well, you need your friend though, right? Like you're fucking him from behind, and then you sneak out, and he takes your place, and then you walk outside and wave at her through the window. And then you go, I'm here.
The worst one I've ever heard is the Houdini, which is where the guy's having sex with the girl from behind. Then unbeknownst to her, his friend subs in for him. Guy number one runs outside, knocks on the window, waves to the girl. Which is just rape. Like, that's just rape.
Amy said on Jim Norton's podcast or radio show, whatever, that was a well-known street joke, and like, duh, of course it is. Do y'all seriously think Patrice came up with that? I get that the way he told the joke was funny to people, and I do think Amy is not great at how she delivers her jokes sometimes, but that joke isn't original because it's been in the Urban Dictionary since like 2006 or 2007. In fact, most of these jokes that are called Houdini are just rape jokes. The joke is a man sexually assaulting a woman by tricking her and that being referred to as a magic trick. Please stop saying she stole this joke from Patrice. She fucking did it. Okay, so cutting in here to say that I forgot to mention that there were 2 jokes that Patrice fans claim she stole. And the other one I didn't mention is also a well-known street joke that you can find on Urban Dictionary. Something I forgot to say, because I've only seen bits and pieces of her live at the Apollo show, was that the entire setup to these jokes is her explaining these well-known sex jokes. Like, I'll explain a little bit in case this gets copyright claimed, but Amy starts off saying how she loves hearing people talk about sex and loves sex jokes. She's like, there's the Dirty Sanchez and the Dirty Rochester, which I'm positive she made up.
So many that you've never heard of. I love hearing new ones. There's the Dirty Rochester. Did you ever hear that? Okay, that is where the guy shits on your chest while he's on a business trip to Rochester.
And her whole point is that none of these jokes are good for the girl. As I was saying, they're all just really gross rape jokes. So I just think, again, it's very uncharitable for the people saying she stole these jokes to not provide the full context. She was never trying to fool us into thinking that she came up with these sex jokes on her own. She was just describing well-known jokes to people and even asked the audience if any they've heard of. This shit irritates me because I don't like it when people are just spreading lies about people and everyone just repeating those lies in their videos and not doing any further research. Not looking up these jokes to see if she actually stole them or if the person who she allegedly stole from didn't also probably steal the joke from somewhere subconsciously or not. And I don't even think Patrice was like stealing that joke. Both were just telling the audience about this known street joke, but telling it in their own way. I think the reason people get so incensed over these things and don't think clearly is because they really want to believe their faves are geniuses with amazing and clever ideas. Robin Williams apparently was known for being a joke thief as well, but he was certainly more beloved and respected than Amy is, and it's not something I hear people mention a whole lot when they talk about him, even before he died.
Right.
Because, like I said, I think it's funny, but everybody steals jokes.
Right.
It's like, it's not stealing the joke. It's once you know it's not yours and you keep doing it, that's the crime. Because this is, it's funny how it works. The mind just works and is grabbing stuff, especially for, people who don't write jokes.
Right.
They just go up on stage and talk.
Right.
Cat Williams talks, Steve Harvey, that's, you just talk.
Right.
It's almost like being an MC and you're going, hey, where you from? What you do? And the first thing that comes to mind is what you say. But sometimes you're saying the first thing that came to your mind is somebody else's joke.
Do you have to if you steal somebody's joke, do you have to give them credit for it?
No, Robin Williams was a notorious thief. I ain't lying. His manager used to walk around with a checkbook. And Robin would come off stage and comedian would say, hey, he just took me and to write him a check. $75.
Damn.
Because he knew. Robin was all stream of conscious. And he would steal material. He was known. Comedians would go, I'm not going on because Robin's here.
Right.
But it happens.
Right.
But I always look at like comedy like this. If it's not the last joke I'm ever going to tell, I ain't going to treat it like that.
Oh, okay.
You ain't take my wife or my kid. It's just a joke. That means I got to think of something else.
Right.
You know what I mean? But for people to be all, up in arms about a joke, really, what is the joke? Did the joke end the war in the Middle East?
Right.
Was it that powerful? Then what you tripping over?
There are a few different responses Amy Schumer haters love to say when they criticize her or dunk on her. They'll say, I don't have a problem with her because she's a woman. I just don't understand why she's famous when we all hate her. Or she's a joke thief and me spending hours of my day online whining about her being a joke thief is totally for the greater good of society. Or my personal favorite. I think Amy Schumer sucks, and I'm a woman. The way I'll see women weaponize the fact that they're a woman as a way to make their opinions seem more valid is so fascinating to me.
You look at Watch Mojo's top 10 worst female comedians of all time. Who do you think lays at the top? Who do you think has earned the top spot? That's right, our favorite, Amy Schumer. The one woman solely responsible for ruining the name of female stand-up comics for decades to come. And now we must fight off the hordes of incels that use Amy Schumer being terrible as ammo that women all around aren't funny. And it's really sad to see. But a couple videos ago, I made a video on bad comedy specials, and by coincidence, they all happened to be white men. And no one's going around saying that all men aren't funny. That's not right.
On Kunken Dassner's video about Amy Schumer, someone commented something like, "As a female, I don't find her to be very funny." Someone describing themselves as a female is very odd to me. Sometimes I wonder if these are just men pretending to be women so they don't get accused of being sexist. Maybe not, but I wouldn't be surprised if that was definitely some of them. I'm not one of those people who think someone's identity is never important when it comes to critiquing a marginalized person. However, I find it interesting the way some women talk about Amy. Like, no shade to Gabby Bell, she's great and her video is really good, you should watch it. But this hyperbolic, she's making all female comedians look bad thing has always frustrated me when people say that about any woman. The way individual women are burdened with the responsibility of representing the woman community, I find to be so unfair sometimes, even if I truly do not like Amy Schumer. One woman being bad should not reflect on all women, especially in this case, female comedians. People definitely generalize about men, I'm not saying that's not a thing, but Rob Schneider is one of the worst comedians to ever exist. Like, his comedy sucks, and most people don't seem to like him for real. But I don't hear men saying he makes all male comedians look bad. Now, part of that is because there are more famous male comedians who are well liked, but there are a lot of women in Hollywood who are very funny, whether they are popular in the stand-up space or not. We know funny women in the entertainment industry exist, so if Amy really makes all women look bad, then that's a problem with society and the Hollywood industry, not necessarily Amy Schumer. I agree that it sucks on some level that Amy got so much attention and fame from being a pretty lazy stand-up comedian when there are so many non-white female comedians who deserve that attention. But people talking about Amy as though she just needs to disappear from the comedy space, or just the world at large and everything will be right in the world, is very frustrating to watch because it's just not true. Men will just find another female comedian to spend all day dunking on. Like, it's sad when I see comments from people saying things like, "I tried so hard to like Amy Schumer because we need more female comedians in the comedy space, but she just isn't funny." Or, "Every woman in my life is funnier than Amy Schumer." It's sad because it feels so performative from women in particular. It feels very much like pick-me behavior, actual pick-me behavior, since some of y'all don't seem to know what that means anymore. Like, listen, guys, I'm a woman and I try to give her a chance. I mean, I had a similar experience when I started watching her specials. I get the disappointment of seeing men senselessly dunking on a famous woman and wanting to see what the fuss is about, only to realize that some of the dunking was valid. You never want to slightly agree with sexist, hateful men online, at least I don't. But sometimes when women say stuff like this, it feels like they're trying to signal to the men who hate her that they also get it, and that they're not going to accuse them of being sexist because they're women and even they don't like her. Because that's more for them than anything. Wanting to let men know that you don't like Amy Schumer even as a woman is just a covert way of telling men that even though you're a woman, you understand what funny is, and that isn't Amy Schumer. Like in my white feminism video, I mentioned some jokes she made that did make me chuckle a little. Not even like a full chuckle, but she made me laugh a little, I made a noise and a face or two. And admittedly, I have stolen her poop joke a few times because I thought it was funny. If something makes me laugh a little or again make a face, I'm going to be honest about that. I'm not just going to lie about it because it's popular to find her completely unfunny. In Gabby Bell's video about Amy Schumer and other female comedians, she actually critiques her jokes and does make some good points about the problem with female comedians.
So Amy Schumer gets a lot of hate for being so vulgar in her comedy, and I don't think that's inherently a bad thing. I do think a common theme with mainstream, let me clarify, mainstream women comedians that get all the media attention are the ones that are hyper vulgar, and I think sometimes it becomes like a crutch. I don't think that's inherently a bad thing. Like, I don't think this is a bad setup for a joke so far.
There was a trend in the 2010s during the pop feminism era where so many women, usually cishet white women, were really obsessed with with classifying feminism as just being horrible like men or horrible in the ways men are allowed to be without any consequences. You can see that so plainly in Amy's early stand-up. Her dark, edgy jokes are so try-hard and so bad. You could tell when she told an offensive joke that she was really proud of herself because she knew that just saying something blatantly racist would elicit some laughter. Like, I didn't feel like she put that much thought into constructing some of these jokes. She's clearly thinking about the punchline more than anything else. Case in point, the "don't look up" joke, which wasn't a racist joke, but was a stupid joke. And I can imagine if she said it, she would have gotten the same response she got when she made that terrible Latina joke at the MTV Movie Awards in 2015.
But Amy might have gone too far with one joke. Check out the look on Jennifer Lopez's face when Amy made a joke about the movie Gone Girl.
The story of what one crazed white woman or all Latinas do if you cheat on them. That's a fact.
I do think marginalized people should be allowed to do offensive comedy if that's what they want to do, but doing that while branding yourself as a feminist and thinking that's propelling the movement is just very eye-rolly. But I already talked about that, so go watch that video. My point is, while I agree that a lot of famous female comedians tend to rely on vulgarity and shock humor in their stand-ups, I think people spend too much time dunking on those women and not the system, like I was saying earlier. I don't know that much about the comedy world. I don't know that much about how shit works in Hollywood. I do know that trying to break into Hollywood can be nearly impossible, and I do think that maybe women feel like they need to be vulgar to get attention. This is the same thing with Sabrina Carpenter on some level. Like, people will get mad that she's always singing about sex, but as she has said, those are the songs that we made popular. We are a society obsessed with sex and sexual innuendos. Clearly, there's something about famous women being vulgar that seems to grab our attention in ways that maybe other more creative female comedians haven't. We're getting mad at these women for how much attention they get because we feel they don't deserve it, or we feel they're somehow forcing us to pay attention to them, but then, we give them the attention and we make thousands of videos about it. Interestingly, some YouTubers who make those videos are aware of this. There's a YouTuber I unfortunately came across while researching named Speaking for Funny, who made this 15-minute long video that was so annoying it felt like it was 15 hours. It starts with a clip from an Inside Amy Schumer sketch.
I've accepted my body as being awesome.
Didn't you just get liposuction?
Literally not even 10 seconds in and I had thoughts. Men who hate Amy do this weird thing where they both want to fat shame her and also judge her for getting weight loss surgery. Like, oh, what a hypocrite. Like, fuck off. I mean, thankfully it seems like this dude isn't on YouTube anymore, but it is worth noting that if you look at his profile picture, he is fat. In fact, he is fatter than Amy. He is also not attractive. A lot of the men who hate Amy are not conventionally attractive men. They are not men you would look twice at, but they love to drop in little fat-phobic insults while pretending like their hatred of her has nothing to do with her being a woman. And it's like, okay. Again, this is going back to my point from earlier about comedy fans being weird. Most male comedians are fucking ugly. And I'm not saying that just to be mean, I am being serious. They would be considered ugly by societal standards. Some of them are fat like Patrice was, and many of them look incredibly average at best. Have you seen Bill Maher? Why, oh why don't these Amy Schumer haters also shit on their looks? And if I hadn't said this enough, Amy Schumer was not a fat person during the height of her fame. She was clearly a thin person with a little extra weight on her tummy than other actresses in Hollywood, which if you've seen other actresses in Hollywood, you would know that that isn't saying very much. There's even a really gross moment where he refers to Amy as a sacred cow, while showing a picture of her clearly pregnant, because I guess that's the best picture he could find to showcase how fat she is.
But honestly, it's like everyone in Hollywood is afraid to say anything negative about Amy Schumer when there's plenty they could be saying. She's like Hollywood's sacred cow, minus that pesky sacred part. A lot of people...
Truly ghoulish behavior. It's actually so pathetic, and coming from this guy, there's also clearly some internalized fat phobia on display. Also worth noting, this is from a sketch. This is not from the actual actress, so this is just a really stupid way of trying to do some kind of gotcha. The video mainly starts off with him referencing some article where Amy spoke out against Louis C.K. I had to go and find what he was referencing because he doesn't say the source, but it's from The Hollywood Reporter. He pans over pictures from the photo shoot and acts like he's never seen photos from a photo shoot before.
Get into the article, accompanied by these new neato pictures of Amy. Look at how soft her sweater is, how comfortable she is lounging around barefoot in jeans. This is comedy.
Then goes on to complain about Amy saying she wants to dismantle the boys club in the comedy industry.
peplum. I like that they include the description of her lounging on her couch in Manhattan as she says this shit. Meanwhile, Louis forced to play gigs in war-torn shitholes like Kyiv. Better cancel him quick before he starts landing those bigger shows in Mogadishu. It must really bother Schumer that despite every media outlet labeling Louis a Weinstein-level threat to women, he still sells out shows. Meanwhile, Amy struggles to capture an audience equal in size to what she had just a few years ago. Maybe it's because Louis is funny and Amy's not.
His point here is kind of nonsensical. What does her being in a Manhattan hotel room have to do with Louis C.K. doing shows in Israel? Also, he's not being forced to do anything. Louis was doing shows not even a year after that New York Times article came out in 2017. He's been doing fine, so what even is this point? Also love him saying Weinstein level threat because, of course, men have to be the lowest of the low in order to be shitty men who deserve to be blackballed from the entertainment industry. As for women, you just have to be a victim, I guess. After this, he goes on to bitch about all the male comedians like Chris Rock and Jerry Seinfeld defending her, just praising her as a comedian. His theory is that Amy doesn't have any real fans, just people in the industry who are too afraid to criticize her and even calls it Schumer privilege in one of the chapter titles. Ah yes, that's what we need more of, men criticizing women. Like with Charlie's video I showed earlier, Amy's haters are deeply confused about how everyone in the public eye supposedly hates her, but everyone in Hollywood doesn't. Or at least the widespread hatred of her from the public hasn't stopped her from having a successful career. They'll make jokes like, oh, I don't think Amy Schumer fans even exist. I've never met one.
But she just had to tell this awful joke and remind everyone why she was universally disliked as one of the worst comedians of our time. The only reason she ever even made it into the industry in the first place is because of getting a lucky spawn in life. She was born into a really rich and powerful family, and through leveraging those connections, she was able to make it to the big time. And it's one of the saddest stories in all of entertainment. But anyway.
First of all, I don't really give a fuck that a bunch of male comedians who take up a lot of space in the comedy sphere aren't ducking on this woman for not being funny. I do think on some level they maybe feel that that would be a bad look. I don't know. Again, I don't give a fuck. Second of all, this whole thing about Amy not having any fans. This shit is annoying to me, not because I enjoy watching her stand up, but because there are clearly lots of people who like Amy Schumer. It's just not popular to like Amy Schumer. So of course it feels like no one likes her. Hatred is loud and gets amplified. Haters are loud and will drown out any positivity coming someone's way. I do think now, especially in regards to the Zionist shit, that there are maybe less people who still like and support her, but this idea that Amy Schumer is like some kind of mob boss who has dirt on all these celebrities in Hollywood and has gangstered her way into the industry is just ridiculous. Her sketch show Inside Amy Schumer was very popular. Not only popular, but critically acclaimed. It literally won an Emmy and a Peabody Award. Her 2015 film she made with Judd Apatow and Bill Hader was also huge. According to Wikipedia and The Hollywood Reporter, Trainwreck had almost as good of an opening weekend as his movie Knocked Up did in 2007. Another movie that was also really huge when it came out, but no one really talks about it anymore. Like, Trainwreck was actually a large contributor to making Amy Schumer a household name. Do you think she paid a bunch of people to go and see Trainwreck? There are people who attend her shows and follow her on social media. Amy Schumer fans do in fact exist. People try to point to Amy's Netflix special, The Leather Special, as proof that people don't find her to be funny because of the negative reviews, as if we all don't know that it was review bombed.
Easy way out by simply blaming the criticism on the alt-right, as highlighted in another comment which stated, worst of all, when her audience gives her honest feedback, she whines about how her critics must hate women or how they're all alt-right. Yeah, sure Amy, the only reason people hate you is that they're all a bunch of Nazi anti-Semitic misogynists. This comment also highlighted the next reason as to why Amy Schumer became so hated, and that's her lack of personal responsibility and victim complex, which is sometimes even mixed with a hint of entitlement and the contrary attitude that she's better than everyone else. Amy's comedy special, the one that she was paid $11 million for, was so bad that IMDb users gave it a rating of 3.1 out of 10, whilst Netflix had to change their rating system entirely, which hit its 1.35 out of 5-star performance on their platform. The changes to the industry she's made is incredible, like how Netflix had to remove their rating system because her special was so terrible. Chappelle's Netflix special, on the other hand, received a rating of 8.2 out of 10 on IMDb, whilst Chris Rock's received a less impressive but still superior rating of 6.6 out of 10. Dave Chappelle and Chris Rock were ranked as number 9 and number 5 on Rolling Stone's top 50 comedians of all time, whilst the only list Amy Schumer seems to top is IMDb's top 10 worst comedians of all time.
I was recently rewatching YouTuber Cheyenne's video about Lily Singh, which you should all go and watch. It's really good. But something she brought up was when Lily Singh did that late night show and it received a ton of backlash for its lame jokes about white people. The show was also review bombed by, I'm pretty sure, cishet white dudes who probably only watched some clips on YouTube or just heard things on Reddit. Sometimes it's kind of hard to gauge how bad something really is or how well liked something is when you have racist, misogynistic dumbasses who spend time out of their day to rally up all the other dumb sexist bros to review bomb something made by a marginalized person. Because it doesn't matter if we don't find it funny. Most people who hate her are not engaging with her work that meaningfully because their main criticism is that she makes too many pussy jokes, which is just stupid. So, who cares? Why does that bother you so much? Like, of all the things they are for, it's the pussy jokes that are getting you riled up.
Watching all of them, and apparently her vagina is something out of this world in a negative way, according to her. Anyway, that entire region of her body is not the focal point of her stand-up routine for this special, probably for the first time in her career.
As I was saying earlier, there's just something about women and other marginalized people being mocked and shamed for criticizing lazy punch-down humor, but then also being harshly criticized by cishet white people or just people in general when they make jokes about stuff. There's a part in Cheyenne's video where she shows clips from Jay Aubrey's incredibly tone-deaf video about Lily Singh where he comes down on her jokes about white people by saying that if you're gonna make fun of white people, at least be funny. Now again, I don't think the jokes are funny, but what I do find funny is how these people don't ever seem to consider that this is how we feel when y'all make those same kind of lame jokes about us. Again, it's the people outside of the margins who get to determine what's funny and what's not and what's appropriate and what's not. Jay Aubrey says he feels nothing should be left off the table when it comes to comedy, which is something comedians and comedy fans love saying. But pussy jokes should be off the table. Making lame jokes about white people, off the table. Making lazy jokes about women, people of color, and gay people, totally fine, and anyone who complains is a sensitive bitch. At the end of this idiot's video, he reads a quote from that article from The Hollywood Reporter of Amy saying she doesn't feel comfortable sharing a stage with someone like Louis C.K. Then he says the solution to ridding the world of pussy jokes is to bring back all the problematic male comedians.
There's one way we could finally be rid of Amy Schumer. Schumer is gonna keep fleshing out her set at the Comedy Cellar. Unless, of course, she turns up and sees on the lineup the name of a man with whom she's no longer comfortable sharing a stage with. In that case, Schumer will do as she's done plenty of times before. She'll turn around and go back home. That's it, boys. I want Louis C.K. booked at every club in America. We're gonna rid this country of stinky pussy jokes. Boys are back in town, and we're not gonna be jerked around any longer. No siree.
It's so fucking gross and weird. He also encourages his mostly male audience to leave mean comments that YouTube will allow in his comment section. What sucks is that there is one part of his video where he actually says some shit I kind of agree with. In fact, it's something all the men echo to some degree, which is that Amy makes everything about herself, which she does. The way she apologized for her past racist jokes was pretty unconvincing, and her BLM activism was performative bullshit. We all know Amy doesn't care about black people. If these men focus more on this than the crime of making pussy jokes or being a joke thief, I would take what they're saying more seriously. But this is not the main thing about Amy that these men hate. It is just misogyny and being angry that this woman has been able to reach similar levels of fame and notoriety as other famous male comedians. We don't like it when women get too popular. We consider it an affront. Men don't like it when women are trying to be funny. People don't like it. People get irritated when women make tongue-in-cheek jokes as if the idea of a woman trying to be funny is as offensive as saying a racial slur. For example, back when I was making my first video about Sabrina Carpenter and purity culture, I watched Fantano's video about her man's best friend album cover amid the controversy with my friend Ofi Dokie. It wasn't a bad video or anything, and he did make some good points about people's reactions being overblown, but there was just this one part that has really stuck with me. He talks about her song Man Child, which had just been released at the time, and he gets mad about the song shitting on guys when the song is not shitting on guys. It's very clearly criticizing the men that she typically dates, not all men as a whole. And then, as with lots of men who can't stand women or being funny, his brain glitches at the lyrics, I swear they choose me, I'm not choosing them.
Really, her new song, Man Child, isn't exactly a sexy cut. In fact, I feel like that song is more representative of what many of her tracks are about, complaining about a relationship dynamic where she's getting the short end of the stick because the guy she's with is either immature or stupid on some level. And what's hilarious to me is that she keeps, at least creatively, subjecting herself to these relationship dynamics over and over and over. And even on the bridge of the track, in my opinion, she hits us with a bit of cope, saying, "Oh, I like my boys playing hard to get, and I like my man all incompetent. I swear they choose me and I'm not choosing them." What does that even mean? What the hell are you saying? Like, they're choosing you, but also you're volunteering to be in these relationships and you're complaining about being treated this way constantly, but yet you're also admitting that you like your men stupid. I mean,
like, what? It's a joke. Has he seriously never heard a woman make that joke? Like, oh, I don't know where these men come from. They choose me. I am not choosing them. That's a joke. It's a cheeky joke. In fact, she's more making fun of herself than anything. It's not a huge deal. I don't hate Fantano for this. It was just a small example of the ways people's brains hit the Microsoft blue screen of death whenever a woman is being cheeky. Or the "I choose to blame your mom" lyric. There are so many people who thought the lyric was sexist when it's clearly a joke about how people always blame the mom for why a man is acting like a child.
I choose to blame your mom.
So, like, that's the best part of the song. So good. Like, I haven't really listened to Taylor Swift's new album, but apparently people were losing their minds over this girl boss lyric that she made in one of her songs, as if they didn't realize she was joking.
It was funny how uninformed they are on the discourse, and Sad Boys kind of loved it. I thought it was still fun to watch. Like, again, people think that because I like the album, I'm like anti any Taylor Swift criticism, and that's just not true. Like, I did enjoy watching that, but it made me have bigger brain thoughts about, like, this is actually how we're talking about this. Like, I can be silly, I can joke around, but clearly if Taylor Swift says this, she is being so serious. And I can't remember exactly where I first saw this, because I had thought that I heard it from Trash Discourse, and then Trash wasn't familiar with it. But I think the line I've seen floating around is, like, women are only taken seriously when they're being funny. Like, if a woman is joking, they're treated like they're being serious and like they're really stupid. And if they're being serious, they're treated like they're joking. Like, I think that's so good. I think that does map really well onto this. Like, there's just the level of bad faith you have to assume to think that Taylor Swift is being serious when she says, "Did you girl boss too close to the sun?" Like, she's being silly.
As Ophi said, we take women seriously when they're joking, and when women are being serious, we make jokes, a la Amber Heard. Somehow a woman crying on the stand about being horrifically abused and raped by a piece of absolute garbage is cause for 1 million TikTok sketches mocking a domestic violence trial. Like, most of Sabrina's music is tongue-in-cheek and very much mirrors the songs you would hear in Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, but people take her songs so seriously. More seriously than songs made by men who say blatantly awful things about women. Big Sean literally has a song praising misogyny and treating women terribly. As my good friend Trash has spoken about in their amazing video about Sabrina Carpenter, we don't like when women are funny.
Where most of the sexualized content at her shows is what I would call lewd jokes, like lewd references to sexuality that are meant to be funny. The joke is the sex stuff, like, oh, Eiffel Tower, haha, we're in Paris, we're doing the Eiffel Tower, or we're fucking behind this curtain, tee-hee, or like, oh, I'm in a toxic relationship, but I'm the toxic one. And in my experience, men do not like this. Men do not like it when women are funny, or trying to be funny. When men say women aren't funny, they're not stating that as a fact. That's an aspiration. They don't want women to be funny because they don't like it when women are funny. Actress Melanie Scrofano of Winona Earp fame said this in an interview. She said that boys were not really interested in her when she was younger, and they would say to her, like literally to her face, they would say, "You would be really pretty or hot if you stopped trying to make jokes and be funny." Men like women who are demure and interested in them and laugh at their jokes. They don't like it when women demand attention by telling jokes, telling really funny stories. They want women to be locked in on them, paying attention to them. Men just aren't that interested in Sabrina Carpenter. Which makes sense. She's just kind of making sex jokes, but from the female perspective. She's doing all of these lewd sex jokes from a woman's perspective. And that's why she has such a big female fan base. She's making these jokes in a way that's actually funny to women. Because most of the time when people make lewd jokes and sex jokes, they're not funny. It's not funny to women. Women are the butt of the joke. The joke is at the expense of the woman. Almost always.
I remember hearing Rachel Bloom once talk about how a lot of male comedians use comedy as a way to get women to sleep with them, and when they see women trying to be funny, it like fucks with their ego.
Who are a little challenged and afraid of female comedians because comedy was how, in their minds, they get laid. So when the thing they're trying to lay is suddenly funny, it fucks with their, like, power dynamic.
The idea that a woman could be funnier than them or as funny, or that his humor might not be impressive to her. Patriarchy loves to coddle men and make men feel good about themselves. It's why male celebrities in their 60s and 70s get praised for looking like silver foxes, while women over 40 who have committed the sin of looking their age are talked about like dried up raisins who are no longer desirable. Women are kind of conditioned to laugh at men's jokes, even when they aren't funny, which does in turn convince a lot of men that they're hilarious when they probably aren't. Because to not laugh is to be a sensitive snowflake. To not laugh is to hurt a man's ego. I think this is also why people are bothered by women using vulgarity and sex jokes in their comedy, because that's something that is reserved for men. Men can make repetitive jokes about the same shit all they want, and that's fine, but marginalized people must bring originality to the table, otherwise, why are they even here? The reason men were so fixated on Amy Schumer is because they were able to use her as a piece of evidence that women are in fact not funny. It's not that men don't also come for other female comedians, they absolutely do, but they hyperfixate on Amy. Like, why the fuck do these men even care about her hosting the Oscars? Or the joke she wanted to make at the Oscars? No one cares about the Oscars. The only reason anyone even bothered to care about the Oscars that year was because someone got slapped on stage. Like, I don't even remember what won Best Picture that year, because that is how little I give a fuck about the Oscars. I'm more bothered when the Oscars invites a literal predator to their prestigious award show than I am about an unfunny comedian being not even the host, but one of the hosts. Did these men make a big deal about Casey Affleck, who was accused of sexual harassment, winning an Oscar in 2017? I fucking doubt it. Because for some reason the line has to be drawn at being unfunny and being a joke thief. So about 2 years ago on the stand-up subreddit, someone made a bold post that I feel they probably should have expected would get completely downvoted, about how joke theft isn't as big of a deal as people make it out to be.
Joke stealing isn't as big of a deal as it's made out to be. I consider comedy an art, some combination of the arts of writing and performance, depending on what type of comedy it is. If you do any amount of research into the creative process of all forms of art, you'll quickly learn just how much theft there is between artists. David Bowie was asked in an interview about his ability to write great music, or a similar type of question, and he replied saying something to the effect of just being an excellent thief. Visual artists often talk at length about the fact that everything has been done already, and frequently will look to other artists' work for inspiration, sometimes replicating until they can transform it into something that's theirs for that particular purpose. Before you read that last paragraph and go, I think the issue with joke stealing is that they don't transform it into something that's theirs. I'll clarify right now that directly copying word for word a joke is just as bad as copying brushstroke for brushstroke a painting and trying to pass it off as your own. If I were to hear that in a comedian, meaning that the comedian used the exact same words and delivery, I would be shocked if that was a coincidence. However, I don't really hear that very often in professional comedians. I hear similar premises and punchlines, but I don't hear direct copies. It is 100% fine to prefer the original. Absolutely. You are under no obligation to like any comedian or joke. However, if it really bothers you that a comedian has a joke, or has more than a few jokes that are similar to jokes another comedian has told, it's possible that you're fundamentally misunderstanding the art in general. Feel free to not support the joke thief, but if you think that's ethically wrong, then I have some bad news for you about thousands of years of art history.
0 upvotes and 137 comments. See, some subreddits are places where nuance goes to die a quick and painless death. So many people not even giving a full counter argument and just saying, nope, if you lift other people's jokes, you're a joke thief. Some of these comments are just people being willfully obtuse about what the OP was saying. Maybe it happens with a parallel thinking situation, and that's fine if it's not word for word. It's just going to happen like that sometimes. However, intentionally stealing a joke? Hell no. There is only one real rule to comedy, and that is don't steal other people's shit. Or you could just write your own jokes. Found the joke thief. Definitely Leary's burner account. There you are, Carlos. Matt, I know getting called out for using street jokes on your most recent special is hard, but the story you're telling yourself here is just sad. I feel like you're making a lazy argument based on assumptions that all mediums of art operate exactly the same. Music and comedy are very different mediums for lots of reasons. Dumb take. OP sounds like a moron. Speaking as a former art student, there is nothing worse than thousands of years of art history. As in other art, there's a gray area of being similar or inspired or influenced, and comedy has a whole lingo around that, so it's not as black and white an issue as you make it out to be. But as in other art, if you do exactly what others have done before you, you're rightfully lambasted as a derivative hack or worse. This post is a troll job for sure, lol. You don't seem to understand the difference between parallel thought and actual blatant joke theft. The vast majority of comics will have jokes about similar topics and ideas, and end up sometimes with material that is similar to that of other comics. That is what is called parallel thought. A joke thief is someone who very obviously steals punchlines, act outs, inflections, etc. Joke theft is still considered one of the worst things you can do as a comic, but very few comics have actually been called out as joke thieves. People like that usually gain bad reputations and are pushed out of comedy, Carlos Mencia being one of the more obvious examples. I get the idea of a new twist on an old joke, but deliberately using the same material as somebody else makes you a hack, not a comedian. Good fucking lord. It's very obvious that these people are just mad that someone very bravely had the gall to assert that the way comedy fans have aneurysms over alleged joke theft claims is kind of over the top most of the time. The OP literally said that, yeah, stealing a joke word for word is bad, but that most of the examples people use when it comes to the topic of joke theft are usually just parallel thinking. Like I said, comedy fans are weird. Comedy is just a different, special type of art. You can't just compare it to other forms of art. Like, shut the fuck up.
Shut when you think about it.
I get that at most it's extremely humiliating because someone being outed as essentially a plagiarist leaves a huge stain on your legacy, as we can see with Amy Schumer. I'm positive many of you have seen the incredible plagiarism video by H Bomber Guy, which delves into cases where people, mostly YouTubers, were outed as plagiarists, and how plagiarism is not taken as seriously as it should culturally and legally. That video was very illuminating for me, as I'm sure it was for the millions of people who watched it, and my perspective on plagiarism was certainly broadened as a result. I don't want anyone thinking that I don't care if people plagiarize other people's work. The problem with joke theft versus stealing someone's speech or regurgitating someone's movie review word for word like with James Somerton and not crediting them and acting as though those words are your own is that joke theft is a little murkier. So I agree that stand-up comedy is different from other forms of art in the sense that you can't really own an idea. I find the way these commenters are just completely unwilling to engage in a nuanced discussion about joke theft, even though it's apparently the worst thing a comedian can do, is very interesting. If it's such a big deal, why are you not willing to engage with what OP is saying? Because OP is correct. Y'all do not know how to properly assess whether someone legitimately stole a joke from someone, most of the time. That Tangerine Show video got millions of views, and most of the comments are people treating those videos as concrete proof when it's mostly bullshit. A lot of y'all have biases towards your own favorite comedians, and that bias clouds your judgment. Case in point, Patrice O'Neal fans to this day insisting that Amy Schumer stole his unoriginal Houdini joke. It's so serious. It's such a big deal. It's worse than murder, but not a big enough deal to actually go and research whether Amy actually stole that joke. It feels like people use joke theft accusations to shit on comedians they already don't like for real. I love how some of these commenters are saying OP must be a joke thief, or even calling them Carlos Mencia's burner account because, of course, only joke thieves can have nuanced opinions on an extremely unimportant topic. Sorry, but joke theft is just not that deep. If there is a case where someone is outright stealing someone's joke word for word, obviously that's bad. No one is really disputing that, at least I'm not, but like Damon Wayans said in that interview, acting like joke theft is akin to stealing someone's wife and shooting their dog is just absurd at this point. The things people choose to get up in arms about on the internet, especially when those reactions don't seem to carry over into other more serious situations, is fascinating to me. I find it fascinating that there are actual human beings who get more carceral around joke theft or even infidelity than they do when their favorite comedian is outed as a creep or a full-on predator. Part of me wonders if it's just that people don't like the idea of someone stealing a joke from them that they thought was so original, or maybe was original, and getting more attention for it. You know, that Key and Peele sketch.
That was my joke.
I know, man, that was hilarious.
Of a triangle. I've labeled them here A, B, and C.
No, but I mean, I said
they
that.
Can be labeled anything.
I said it.
Say that they're A, B,
I said
and
it.
C so that
I said that.
Please, Mr. Jackson, keep your comments to yourself. Thank you. Now, the hypotenuse is...
We as society do in a lot of ways struggle with understanding how most things are not original. Originality is just not a thing in the way people really want it to be anymore. We have decades upon decades upon decades of movies and TV shows and books and plays. Like, it's kind of hard to be completely original anymore. It is very easy to absorb certain kinds of humor or phrases or mannerisms from the people we spend time with. It's also very common to have the same thought or ideas as someone you know. Comedians, musicians, actors are in a lot of ways taking inspiration from their predecessors. Look at Sabrina Carpenter. She proudly wears her inspirations on her sleeve, and I really appreciate that about her. I don't see it as just copying. I see it as her paying homage to and celebrating the greats who paved the way for her, like Britney Spears and Madonna. Two women who dealt with a lot of misogynistic, slut-shaming bullshit from the public as Sabrina is dealing with now. I think it's cool to see people using the works of older artists and adding their own flavor to it. I'm more annoyed when marginalized people start something and then white people come and appropriate it and they get more attention and fame and money for it than the marginalized people they stole that shit from. But again, that's not something too many people online seem to actually care about other than marginalized people. Most of the time, people don't really care about the issues that impact marginalized people, and that's part of why the loudest Amy Schumer haters don't focus that heavily on her racism, her selfish white feminism, her performative activism. But they will pretend to care about those issues when it's convenient, when they need those valid critiques to cover the real reasons that they hate her. It's something we see constantly, and it genuinely frustrates me because those same people are never actually interested in hearing or uplifting those valid critiques when it matters. If you're the kind of person to hesitate or feel skepticism in a way that is oftentimes deeply unhelpful and sometimes destructive when it comes to SA or abuse cases, but when it comes to joke theft, you have this very black and white perspective that doesn't allow for any nuance or complexity, and you're willing to throw someone under the jail for stealing a stupid joke, I need you to reevaluate your life. If you think being accused of joke theft is worse than being accused of murder or is right behind being accused of murder, I need you to reevaluate your life. It says so much about men that their biggest fear is being accused of being a joke thief. But for women, their biggest fear is having to share a stage with a predator. Or worse, their biggest fear is being assaulted or violated by a beloved male comedian and not being able to come forward because they know who the public will side with. Hot take, but I'll take a joke thief over a disgusting sex pest any day.